Pine needles are not particularly acidic, at least not once they've turned brown, which happens in most cases before they even fall off the tree. But many gardeners are under the impression that they are. I was until recently, and so they've been unhelpfully deemed useless as a means of building soil. Some extremists say that adding pine needles to your garden is like pouring vinegar on your soil. But this speaks to a broader misconception about the potential of hydrogen, the pH of soil. And with the exception of extreme cases where soil has been significantly damaged, in my humble opinion, soil pH is not a factor that many home gardeners and even small-scale growers need to be concerned about whatsoever. And so now that I've hopefully rage baited a few of you and piqued some of y'all's interest, I think that we need to ask the question, why is pH something that so many gardeners are concerned about? And finally answer the question, what do we do with all the pine needles? We'll cover all of that and more in this video. Something that I point out quite often is how industrial ag leads the way and sets the pace for a lot of home gardening practices and mindsets. In fact, many home gardens are built to be what I consider miniature versions, if not maybe a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, of industrial farms. The way that nutrients are applied to soil, the way that plant spacing is recommended to fit tractor wheels, and certainly the practice of soil disturbance. And so when I set out to do a little bit of research for this video, I was curious what the main causes of pH imbalances were and how folks were actually going about treating those problems. And what I found made a lot of sense pretty quickly, and I'll get into why a little bit later in this video. I have never tested the pH of my soil. I've never felt like it was a particular threat to my plants, and so it wasn't something that I ever really considered until the pine needle topic came up. People told me, especially when I was a brand new gardener, that pine needles would make my soil acidic. And in fact, my soil was probably already too acidic to grow in because of how many pine needles had been getting dropped all across my yard. But then we just grew a bunch of plants in it anyway. And there's of course a lot more to it than that. But the pH of my soil was never a limiting factor for me. Now, that certainly doesn't mean that it isn't an issue for other people. And this is such a nuanced thing. So I'm going to start off with what I consider is immediately practical, and then we'll get into some more of the in-depth technical sciencey stuff. Staying with my personal experience, I'll say that the logic of pine needles making soil too acidic to grow in sort of made sense and sort of didn't. On the one hand, we did find it tricky to grow directly underneath the ponderosa pine trees in our yard. However, that also could have been and likely was because of the lack of moisture in the soil there. We live in an already very dry climate, and the lack of rainfall on the area directly under the tree canopy, plus the thirsty root system, was probably the actual reason. What I found interesting very quickly actually came from my experience with Bokashi. Bokashi fermentation is a way that we ferment our food waste before composting it, and one of the reasons that we do this is to be able to safely compost meat and dairy. Ordinarily, meat and dairy take a long time to decompose, plus they attract wild animals and other scavengers. But with how acidic the food scraps are in Bokashi, they become unappealing to scavengers. Wouldn't this mean then that they would turn our soil acidic? Apparently not, because we got great results using Bokashi food scraps both to make compost and by just burying them and letting them decompose in the soil and then planting over the top. In other words, adding acidic ingredients to the soil doesn't actually make soil acidic. Reason being, healthy soil has something called buffering capacity. Now, in super sandy, low organic matter soils, this buffering capacity is reduced. We'll touch on that in the science section in a moment. But adding food scraps increases organic matter in the soil. So regardless of what kind of soil you have, the effect will be fairly similar. Acids in the Bokashi material get neutralized as microorganisms decompose it. So initially, sure, mixing up Bokashi material into the soil will result in a drop in pH, but after a few weeks of scraps will have decomposed fully and the pH will rise back to its baseline. Now, pine needles have their own process for this. Microorganisms actually neutralize the low pH of pine needles often before they even drop from the tree. So by the time that they hit the ground, they're not even very acidic compared to fresh pine needles, which are more acidic. But then once they hit the soil, they continue to neutralize and decompose. So why have pine needles been cast as a soil acidifier? I don't actually have a great for sure answer for you, but I have a guess that it has something to do with the obsession that we have with soil pH. So let's just ask the question, what actually causes pH imbalances in the soil? Hey, if you enjoy learning about these kinds of gardening techniques but are unsure how to put it all together for your garden, you might be a great fit for my Natural Garden Reboot program. I believe that food is medicine, but what are we supposed to do when so much of the food that we buy is covered in chemicals that make us sick? If you want more say over exactly what goes into your body from the food you grow, I created this framework specifically to help gardeners grow the way that nature intended. And if you want to learn more, you can hit the link or scan the code on the screen, and you can find a time to meet with me. I'll make sure to help you find your best next steps for your garden, identify where things might be going wrong, and if you would be a good fit for the Natural Garden Reboot program. Now back to the video. Well, pH is determined by many things, but the three main ones that I want to talk through are parent material, soil treatment, and plants. Parent material is the underlying geological substance from which soil develops. Soils that formed from granite and sandstone are said to produce lower pH soils, whereas limestone and dolomite-based soils produce soils with generally higher pH. Usage of large amounts of synthetic fertilizers, especially nitrogen, such as ammonium sulfate or urea, are going to increase loosey-goosey hydrogen ions in the soil, since when the nitrification cycle happens, it breaks down ammonium to create nitrate and the hydrogen ions are left over. Now this gets a little bit confusing because adding more hydrogen seems like the potential of hydrogen would go up, but it actually means that it goes down, which acidifies the soil. And we'll come back to this in a sec. Both of these factors will determine, or at least affect, the concentration of hydrogen ions in a liquid within the soil, which determines whether or not essential plant nutrients dissolve in water or get locked up in forms that plant roots can't absorb. In alkaline or high pH soils, hydrogen ions are scarce, and nutrients like iron, manganese, boron, zinc form insoluble compounds, meaning that plant roots can't access those nutrients. In more acidic or low pH soils, hydrogen ions are abundant, which means that minerals dissolve easily and become more readily available to plant roots. If you've made either water-soluble calcium phosphate or acetate at home, you've personally seen this happen. You can soak eggshells or animal bones in vinegar for a few weeks, and the acid in the vinegar helps to extract and dissolve locked up minerals, largely calcium, but also other beneficial micronutrients that can then be sprayed, diluted onto plants to supply those minerals. This also means that too acidic of soil can release excess minerals that become absorbed in toxic levels, which can harm plant growth. All in all, a soil pH of between 6 to 7, which is neutral, leaning acidic, is an ideal range for most plants to grow in. Some plants, most notably blueberries, require higher levels of iron for proper growth, and so they grow best when soils are a touch more acidic in the 4.5 to 5.5 range. Now, this gets a little bit more technical pretty quickly, but the major factor here that we need to look at is the cation exchange capacity, or the CEC of a soil. Basically, this refers to the amount of negatively charged sites contained within a soil medium. Hydrogen is a positively charged ion, which means that it's seeking a negative ion with which to bind. Without that bonding site or bonding sites, excess hydrogen builds up in the soil. Adding organic matter is a way of providing negatively charged sites within your soil. Without that organic matter, it lacks bonding sites. So how does a synthetic fertilizer application affect cation exchange capacity? Well, as you flood the soil with excess cations and don't furnish the soil with anions in the form of organic matter, other positively charged ions, such as calcium, potassium, and magnesium, have nothing to bond with, meaning that they can be lost to leaching and more likely runoff. Now, I want you to get inside the corporate mindset, whose goal it is to solve this problem for farmers. Is organic matter a commercially viable enterprise? Not when you're trying to make billions. It doesn't quite scale, and it's not the easiest sell to farmers growing on 100,000 acres. But what if there was a substance that was easily spreadable, cheap to manufacture, and could be added to the soil to neutralize the excess hydrogen ions? Enter limestone. Calcium carbonate is the primary component of agricultural limestone, and when it's added to acidic soil, the concentration of free hydrogen ions in that soil decreases significantly, and voila, you're back to a baseline. So why is pH such a fixation for the industrial agricultural complex? Because they've created a problem that they can sell the solution for. And then as big ag influences home gardening, now we've got this fixation on pH, and the solution is really far more simple than people realize. Add organic matter to your soil, mulch, feed the biology, give it some time, and your soil pH will even out, and your soil will have proper buffering capacity in most cases. The last piece of this equation is in the third factor that I mentioned when we look at what determines soil pH, which is plants, specifically plant roots and the microorganisms that inhabit their root zone. There are several studies that indicate that plant roots, in conjunction with the microorganisms in the soil, naturally shift soil pH toward their preferred needs. Now, from my point of view, this means that if we can get the soil biology locked in, they're going to do things a whole lot better than what I could do manually. And if we just take a step back from the technical side of things, this is overall why I think the more that we can observe and apply patterns that we find in nature, the less other forms of intervention with downstream effects we'll experience. And this is a different type of mechanism related to pH, but I was curious, so I did some reading about the pH of human blood. Blood needs to maintain a very precise pH of between 7.35 to 7.45, so slightly alkaline. My guess is that near 100% of you watching this have never thought to test the pH of your blood. Maybe in some extreme cases you needed your doctor to do it. But in the vast majority of cases, your body naturally regulates the pH of its blood all on its own. And I'm not saying the soil and blood are the same thing. What I am saying is that intense intervention is something that should be left to extreme cases. There's a possibility that there are real uses for the addition of lime or sulfur to either lower or raise soil pH. But overall, we want to be bringing things back to a natural state so that nature can do its thing. Before we conclude, let's return to the pine needle. I was out last weekend collecting IMO from Mount Spokane, and something that I've seen before many times just kind of suddenly hit me in the face, and this is embarrassingly obvious. But there are huge pine trees all over this mountain, and in the understory there were beautiful, thriving deciduous trees. And then at the shrub layer there were these healthy bushes, and then there was thriving ground covers and a thick pine needle mulch. And I just thought, why do we not think that pine needles can be used to build healthy soil? It's clearly working here. So now I'm on a mission to change my mindset toward the abundance of pine needles in our yard. I'm going to run several experiments to try to speed up decomposition a bit by using various inputs that we have on hand. Pine needles have a natural waxy coating and resins that help them resist decomposition. But again, in the forest where microorganisms are living pretty undisturbed, they seem to be processing the pine needles into soil fairly effectively. So stay tuned for those experiments. I refuse to ship out yard waste, and I can't afford to just keep piling up pine needles in this area between my house and the neighbors. So there you go. Guys, as always, let me know what you wish that I had covered more in depth or wish I had shut up about. If you haven't joined my natural gardening community, you can right now by hitting the link in the video description. It's completely free to join. Find free resources, free friends, find help for your gardening issues, share your gardening wins. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.